What's up, motherfuckers? In the first round, I commend the two game of Salem because he played very good game and in a too aggressive style, especially he played so aggressive. And in the second round, he faced against Abimanyu Misra, who is a young player who is playing so well in the last tournament. And in the last year, he lost 0 games, but in the US Open, he lost three. He lost the streak against Niemann. I commend this game in the Salem too. And he faced in the second round of the World Cup against Salem. So I'm going to analyze the game. Okay, Mirra open with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, f3 by Salem. So by Mirra, sorry, that's the Samish variation against the King's Indian defense. So that's not my favorite. I saw f3 lately in the last weeks in some games, and in all the games I really like the position who black reads. So I don't. It's not my favorite option against the King's Indian. I prefer others more commonly like knight c3 and play with the knight on f3 or the pawn on h3, something like that. But I don't like. I have some games analyzing this move, knight c3. This is the yes. What I recommend against King's Indian is the move h3. I have some games analyzing h3, and that's the move that I recommend. f3, c5, d5, and against the Samish variation, the correct breakthrough was c5, and later the pawn on d5 we are going to break with c6. That's the correct way to play in the Samish variation with black. Break with c5. You should remember that if you play King's Indian. d5, now d6. Now we turn into a more or less Benoni, yes, Benoni structure, but okay, finally it's a King's Indian. So e4, bishop g7, knight c3, and now like in the Benonis we should play e6, trying to break the center. Here bishop g5 or bishop g3 are moves that I prefer a little bit. I'm not sure if it was in this exactly position, but I analyzed a game of I think Wesley So with bishop g5. Okay, knight e2, it takes break open the e file. She takes knight d7. White should take with the c-pawn because if you take with d, now the black is going to copy the f5 with the rook, and later it's going to be easier to break the c4 pawn. So white here should break with should recapture with c to have this strong center, and one day can advance f4 and e5. So knight d7, knight g3, and here I really like the plan who Salem employed. Instead of playing normal with Castle or rook e8, who the rook is not going to make nothing against this strong center, he played a very interesting plan h5, trying to attack with the h pawn. Like I say in a game analyzing a game of who plays Blue one, I explained that in the last year the moves like h4 and h5 in the opening are so much employed that in the past thanks to the computer help. In the past, nobody could play a move like h5 in the opening. But now the machines are explaining us that h5 and h4 or h4 with white used to be fine in the opening. And in general, when there is a knight on g3 or on g6, the move h5 was so typical. This is for all the knights. Okay, bishop e2, h4, still taking space in the king side, knight f1, and now a6. The plan with a6 is play b5. That's the typical plan in this position. Black have more pawn in the queen side, so black should try to advance the queen side pawn, of course. a6, a4, rook b8. Okay, the idea with rook b8 is try to play b5 and push this pawn. And now white have two ideas, or just play the typical move a5 and trying to block it b5, or still with his plan play bishop g5, pinning the knight, putting the h pawn under attack. Here black should react with h3, g4, sword castle, 93, and here we should sacrifice the pawn with b5. That's so typical in this type of position. Black should just play active and use that the white king is still in the center, the position will be open, so sorry, this position will be open, so black should play with energy and sacrifice the pawn with b5. A takes, knight b5, queen b6, sword castle, knight h7, attacking the bishop, g5, and here c4 is so interesting. And okay, black finally take a piece, but now white is going to take a rook, and white have many pawns in the center. So the position is equal. But okay, a5 typical move by Mirra, so yes, so normal. And okay, until here, then both players are playing perfectly. Here, Salem made a small inaccuracy. he played Sword Castle, but was stronger to play h3 first. g3, Sword Castle, knight e3, b5, 8 takes, and knight fd7. But okay, he played long castle, and now very good response of Mirra, g4, taking the space in the king side. And now Salem made his not natural move with b5. Both players are making all the natural moves in this type of position. It's a very instructive game because you are watching the all the typical plans. First, after the Samis, play c5 and play this position. Later, play 6 to break the center, then recapture with the c pawn, and now the other very interesting plan h5, h4, very instructive to learn. a6, another typical plan to break on a5, a4, stopping b5, rook b8 to still trying to play b5. Here I saw as this pawn sacrifice with b5, a5 great move stopping b5. Now, okay, sword castle, and finally b5, another typical move. It takes and very good move c4, just taking the c5 square for the knight and sacrificing another pawn. But like I told, this position is not about how much material you can take. It's about, especially with black, you should play active. That's the way to play the King's India and the Benoni structure. You should play active. Doesn't care about material. No. Just completely forget material. Just think about play active. So c4, very good move of Salem. Here, okay, white can take, but here queen b6 and e5 was strong. So bishop e3 by Mirror, defending queen takes b6, and now came maybe one of my favorite game of the game because Salem played an incredible attacking game. He played rook take b6, very good move because you don't understand that move because I think what happened if white takes. Okay, this is a bad move because after queen takes b6, now black have the plenty control of the dark squares. White have no dark square bishop, and apart he have all his pawn in light squares. So and black have a great queen on b6 and a great bishop on d8. So black have all the but the full control of the dark square. So this makes that the position is better for black, thanks to the full control of the dark squares. Doesn't care if you have a rook and okay, no, the rook are not making nothing here. The important thing is the dark squares. So for that reason, bishop f6, bishop e6 was not good. So this makes rook takes b6 a good move because he's attacking b2. And here, Mirra looks like he defend the pawn in an active way, but the concrete moves demonstrate that rook b8 was stronger. Rook b1, sorry, can look passive, more passive than rook a2, of course. The rook on a2, okay, is in an open fight, and the rook on b1 is in a close fight. But the concrete move demonstrate that rook b1. One second, I'm going to stop the video. Okay, I'm back. I opened the the mailman. I don't I searched in Google how to say that to say in the video, but I forget. The postman, the postman, the postman. I opened the door to the postman. And, okay, let's continue analyzing the game. Um, so like I told you, rook b1 by concrete moves are stronger than rook a2. Uh, with rook a2, the problem is that here Salem plays 95 followed by 93, very strong. And at the end of a line, the rook is hanging on e2. So let's see what happened with rook b1 with the same line. If rook b1 is Salem playing the same way with 95, 92, 93, king f1. Okay, I'm going to make us a small spoiler. Bueno, okay, I'm going to show us the game first. Mirra played rook a2. Salem played 95. Enter on d3. 92, 93. Here bishop d3 was stronger. Just eliminate this knight. C takes, knight c4. Later queen d3. And okay, black have a huge counterplay for the pawn because the white king is open. He have the bishop pair, he's breaking the center, he have a very good bishop on g7. But okay, the position is equal according to the machine. But Mirra played king f1. What's the problem of that move? That here black have an incredible move. King knight takes d4. He sacrificed. He first sacrificed some pawns, later he sacrificed a rook on b6, and now he sacrificed a knight on g4. Incredible, Salem. That's the way to that you should play the King's Indian. F takes g4 and rook b2. Second, more sacrifice. No, it's not a sacrifice, but tactics. Um, here Mirra takes on d3. He cannot take the knight c4 doesn't work because queen f6 and queen c3, and just the rook is hanging on it too. But what's the difference is with the rook on b1, with all of this line with knight e5, knight d3, knight g4, rook b2, queen f6, and queen c3, that's the same line. After queen d3, the rook is defending on b1, and black have no rook b1 because queen takes. So that's why rook b1 was stronger than rook a2. Of course, it's so difficult to find this all of this over the board, but okay, it's interesting to watch with the machine and so on. So okay, that's how continues the game. He cannot take like because queen everything that I saw. So he take bishop takes d3. He finally takes the knight, but a little bit later. And now instead of take the bishop, of course, because the b2 rook is hanging, you should play queen f6 and queen c3, taking a knight and defending the rook. And now white have a piece up, but black have two pawns in counter of that. And apart of that, the white king is so weak, and the bishop is coming to taking this. Yes, uh, black is making bishop d4, taking the pawn. Rook b2, queen b2, bishop c4, and now, like I told, the bishop is coming to attack the white king, pin the knight, and white position is hopeless. But thanks to the bad position of the king, and white is so active, this bishop, this queen, this bishop, and later maybe the rook is coming to attack. So black have a huge initiative. h3 by Mira trying to defend, and Salem playing a aggressive way with rook takes and rook c8 all the time with tempos. Bishop d3, rook c3, again attacking with tempos. Queen d1, rook a3, attacking rook a3. I really like this maneuver of Salem. Rook c8, rook c3, and rook a3. All to enter only one with the rook. Queen a2. Okay, queen c3 again. Salem is all the time attacking pieces. And all the time with initiative and with tempos. And finally, Mirra should give the piece because he's attacking the d3 bishop. And if you move the bishop, the e3 bishop is hanging. So he finally gives the piece. And now he's hanging with two pawns up by Salem, where he early wins. He created a pass pawn on the h5 and he early wins. Very, very good game of Salem. This is a very strategic game, and Pragg, he made everything well positionally, taking rook take b6, breaking with b5, breaking with c6, taking on d5. He positionally he played all everything perfectly, but later he calculated great, and he won a very, very good game in the positionally way and in the complication in the calculate. So congratulations to Salem to advance to the next round. And let's see how continue the tournament. Bye bye, motherfuckers.